Hello, everyone, and welcome to Developing Palates. I am Aaron Loomis, and with me, as always, is Jiunn Liu. How you doing, Jiunn?
I am good.
Tonight, we are talking about the HVC San Isidro, and this cigar is a Toro, 6 inches by 52 ring gauge, and this comes out of the Tabsa factory in Nicaragua. Wrapper is Ecuadorian Habano, and binder and filler are both Nicaragua. The blender is Rainier Lorenzo, and the price point is $10.80. And this was released in July of 2016. So with all the details out of the way, let's get into our pre-light experience. So Jiunn, what was your pre-light experience like with the cigar?
I first thought that the Ecuadorian Habano wrapper itself was just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I think, minus the fact that personal preference of liking more of a Colorado red, kind of a tint, everything else just said perfection for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what I meant by that is just, first when you just touch the wrapper, it's incredibly smooth. It's silky is what it is. And the veins are so well pressed that you don't feel the actual veins. I mean, you put your fingers across it, and you feel around it, and you don't feel it whatsoever. And in addition to that, the roll is so tight on that wrapper that you don't even feel the seams at all.
Mm-hmm.
So all that was it's very rare to have a cigar that's like that. And I thought the bunch and roll was really well done. I got a Fermi uniform gift to it. The head had a really thick quadruple cap for mine that kind of allowed me to play with it unless, if it got too much liquid on it or whatever. So going into the pre-light, the wrapper, I got a lot of barnyard flowers, like a rich and sweet roasted chestnuts. On the foot, I had some natural sweet tobacco, a dry white pepper, and on a cold draw, I namely got a dry minerality, dry white pepper, like an aged cedar that's been just sitting in a humidor for a freaking decade. Yeah.
And for me, the wrapper, milk chocolate brown, like you were saying, very smooth. You just run your fingers across the wrapper, and it's just like there's no texture, nothing. It's just completely smooth. The veins, there's some veins that were visible, but because they had a lighter color, but you couldn't feel them. And the caps were like, I don't know, they were just so perfectly applied. Like it was just like a work of art. There has a pretty simple band on it. It's got a crest with the cigar name in white, dark blue background. There's a little bit of gold bordering, and then there's some, pastel red and blues kind of ribbons that kind of run at the bottom of it. The aroma that I got from the wrapper was a faint barnyard, and the foot gave a sweet hay and white pepper. And the pre-light draw was a distinct dry hay for me. So getting into flavor, first third to final third, what was your experience like?
For first draw, one word came to mind, and that's decadent. It was just, and what I mean by that was, it was so, it was rich. The flavors are really deep, I love that. So specifically within what I tasted, I got like a rich, medium, full body sweet cream. And that was balanced out and nuanced really well by some roasted nuttiness. I got some sharp oak, dry white pepper that was hitting kind of the front of my tongue. Through the retro, intensified notes of dry white pepper. Intensified in the sense of it's a good thing. Like it's a welcoming thing. I didn't feel like it'll sting my nose and I couldn't retrohale. So in addition to that, sharp oak, some dry roasted nuttiness. The finish was it was a really buttery, sweet creaminess. Oak, dry white pepper, and that pepper was kind of more hitting on my rear palate. Within the first third, in terms of body, I put it somewhere in between medium, full. More probably leaning towards the medium full side, and strength was just at a regular solid medium. Moving into the second third, the main thing that I noticed in the second third are just namely fuller notes as compared to the first third. So I still got an abundance of the medium full body sweet cream, roasted nuttiness, and a dry white pepper. So a new note of a dry minerality started coming in, and that paired really well with that sharper oak note. And in an intermittent fashion, I detected some the floral notes. Retrohale stay the same, still intensified dry white pepper, sharp oak, dry nuttiness, dry roasted nuttiness. Finish consisting of medium full body sweet cream, bread, sharp oak, dry white pepper on the rear palate. Body still between medium full, and strength within the second third. It kicked up to a medium full. Moving on to the last third. Last third is just kind of like a shuffle of the second third's flavors. So dominant notes are sharp oak and dry white pepper, whereas the second third, that sweet creaminess became more of a secondary note on the last third, but it was still a very distinctive and full note, just perhaps less sweeter, less creamier. In the dry minerality, got intermittent floral and dry roasted nuttiness. And on the retro, still intensified dry white pepper, sharp oak, dry roasted nuttiness, and finish was just lingering on and on with bread, sharp oak, dry white pepper on the rear palate. Body still more towards that medium full mark. In strength was at the medium full mark as well within the whole last third. So all in all, going back to my word of using a very decadent cigar, and kind of to summarize that, it's a cigar that has such a deepness and richness of flavors. And I certainly got a ton of that within that medium body sweet cream, the wood, the spice, and everything was a very harmonious blend. But it had very, very deep flavors for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, initial draws brought a medium spice cinnamon and some woodiness, and that same cinnamon level was present on the retrohale. A quarter-inch in, the cinnamon mellowed out and kind of evened out with a wood note. And then half an inch in, the cinnamon moved to the background while the kind of that general woody note came to the front. And the retrohale was like just a very mild cinnamon at that point. 3/4 of an inch in, the woodiness became very drying, and then just past the inch mark, a bit of sweetness came in to join with the wood. And then 1.5 inches in, the sweetness went away, and that dry wood is what remained. And the retrohales also kind of transitioned to that general woodiness, and the strength was right at medium. Getting into the second third, the woody note became more defined as cedar, and then 1/4 inch in, the cedar was a bit drying as well. It also carried over to the retrohale, so getting cedar in the mouth flavor and retrohale. Half an inch in, a very mild pepper kind of joined in with the cedar. And then 1 inch in, the flavor was starting to become fuller, so it was kind of just amping itself up. The cedar, mild black pepper was still there, and a little bit of mustiness joined in. 1.5 inches in, a bit of minerality joined in with the cedar, the pepper, and the mustiness, and the strength was still at a medium. And then getting into the final third, the pepper had gone away, and the cedar and the mustiness remained with a little bit of cream that came in. And then 1/2 inch in, all the flavors began to mix really well to kind of give an enhanced profile. The retrohale was a mix of the cedar, the mustiness, and the minerality. And then at 1 inch in, a bit of mintiness came in, and it picked up, and it really moved the cedar and the mustiness to the background. And that's kind of how the profile finished for the cigar, but the strength kind of stayed the same as the previous thirds, just right at medium. So performance-wise, burn and draw, what was your experience like?
First, going with the burn, it was perfect. I clocked in at 2 hours and 56 minutes of smoking time, which is fantastic. Burn line was razor sharp, and it was even at all times. Rock solid ashes, averaging 1.5 inch ash marks. And this, I want to comment about specifically the ash on the cigar. It looked like ash that come out of a really thick and hearty like grade A Connecticut broadleaf wrapper,
Hmm.
which is impressive for Ecuadorian Habano that he's using. And typically for me, most stuff that comes out of TAPSA, especially utilizing the Corojo Criollo wrappers and tobaccos in general, um, they're not the best, prettiest of burns, but this one I thought was fantastic.
Hmm.
And then going on to the draw, it was very very slightly snug on the example that I had, but it was no doubt still very very good, and it let me taste all the flavors without being any major factor.
Yeah, the burn for me was excellent. Razor sharp burn line. Ashes dropped right off at the third mark, so 2 inches each time. So 2 ash drops, and that was it for the cigar. In regards to the draw, it was perfect as well. Just how I like it. A little bit of resistance, and lots of smoke on each draw, so I was able to really analyze the flavors that I was getting from the cigar. So overall, what were your thoughts on the cigar?
Um, you know, I've been a fan of the HVC and what Rainer's been doing ever since you gave me that. What is it? The what is that one that called that you gave me like what almost 3 years ago? We smoked one,
The Cerro.
the Cero. Yeah. So and ever since then, and trying other stuff, I've always been like a I've always been hopeful that he'll do better and better.
Hmm.
And I think that although this is, a bit of a deviation from that stereotypical, what's known out of, Tabsa, Casa Fernandez, and Aganorsa stuff, I think that he blended a really good cigar. I think that it was rich and decadent. It had sweetness, earthiness, woodiness, and spice. Had really deep flavors of all of that. And you compound that by essentially a perfect constructed cigar. There's really not much not to like about this cigar for me.
Hmm.
As of now, this is probably going to hit top 5 cigar of the year for me that came out that's new. In which that's really good because there's a lot of good cigars that came out this year so far that we smoked. I feel like so.
Hmm. Yeah, this cigar never really got off the ground for me. The first portion, had some cinnamon, which I really enjoyed. But after that, it was really just wood. Sometimes it was drying. Um, but we get to the final third, and then to get some additional components that joined in, so that helped out a little bit. And I've really enjoyed all the other HVC stuff, so I was really had high hopes for this cigar. So I'm glad to hear that you had really good experience. So I need to revisit this to see if I just got maybe an outlier in regards to the consistency, to see if it's something that I can get a similar experience to what you got. But like I said, definitely revisit it. But if I get a similar experience to what I had on this one, I don't really see going back to it too often. So really hoping to try it again and see if it performs a bit better in regards to flavor for me. So getting into scores, you gave this an 8.47, and I gave it a 6.33. How do you think your score matches up with your experience?
Is that the best score I've ever given on a cigar?
No,
Is that the second best score I've ever given a cigar?
I don't think so. I think it's the third best score you've given.
Okay. Well, it should be way up there.
Yeah.
So, um, no, I feel good about it. Yeah, I love that. You know how you want to smoke another one to
Hmm.
see if you get a different experience. I want to smoke another one to see if I get the same experience.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so, but I mean, I heard that I was reading Half Wheel and they said that he worked like 2.5 years on this blend to
Hmm.
try to make it as good as possible, and that definitely paid off. And for me, I feel like it paid off, and I'll definitely be searching out for a box of these. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think my score matches up well. I think the performance really helped out the score. If we're just talking about flavor, it's pretty much an average cigar for me. So I'm hoping to try another one and get the experience that you had. But the score matches. Really good performing cigar. I mean, you don't have to pay any attention to it. It just works. It just goes along, allows you to smoke it and just really focus on flavors. So, I mean, that's what you can ask for in a construction wise, but flavors just kind of left me wanting for more. It started out first few draws with that cinnamon and it just was fantastic, but it didn't really kind of continue on in that fashion for me. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I'm glad you had a really good experience with it. So, any final thoughts from you on the cigar?
No, I'm looking forward to the La Rosa whenever we get to that.
Yep, yep. So if you're just catching this video on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us. You'll get notified anytime we put up a new review recap. But be sure to go to the website to read the full written review, developingpalates.com, and follow us on all the social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+. And thank you for watching, and we will catch you on the next video.